everybody. Welcome back to our 56th consecutive 5 minutes at the Frat House with Frat House Mike and Sidekick. You make no mistake, we are the fastest growing, most consistent sports talk program out there. Guess you're feeling pretty good about yourself, aren't you now? Huh? You had a pretty lucky week with your picks this week.
Yes.
Didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky, I say. No, yeah.
Fantasy was pretty good to me this week.
Yeah, fantasy was pretty good to you.
Yep.
Okay.
I give you our champion!
Alrighty, I think that's a bit premature, but that's okay. We'll see how We'll see how fantasy goes tonight as we go through NASCAR. Let's go take a look at NASCAR first, because we had our chase race number 2 this past weekend. Sidekick up in New Hampshire.
Yes, we did.
And you had mentioned on this show last week how Denny Hamlin kind of pompously was tweeting, days in advance, how he was going to win that race. And so how did it all turn out? Denny Hamlin won the damn race. I can't believe it.
Yes, he did.
And became the first driver of all of them to win actually 5 races this past season. And placed himself in pretty good shape. I think he put himself in the number 3 position in the chase. Now just 7 points ahead of Jimmy Johnson, who is leading. Others who came in the top 5. Yes, he is, I guess. Others who came in the top 5 this past weekend up in New Hampshire. All chase drivers this weekend. Included Jimmy Johnson again, coming in second place again, second week in a row. Jeff Gordon really helped himself out there by coming in 3rd. Clint Boyer came in 4th, and Casey Kane came in 5th. And so what's the chase leaderboard looking like at this moment right now? Well, Jimmy Johnson has moved into the number 1 spot.
Bumped off Big Bad Brad.
Yes, he did. He moved him down into the 2nd spot. There's Brad Keselowski in the number 2. Number 3 came up into the, Denny Hamlin came up into the number 3 spot.
Yep.
And the defending champ, Tony Stewart, is now in 4. Dale Jr., for all you Dale Jr. fans out there, still holding on to the number 7 spot. And there you can see the full board sitting there right behind us. So real quick, I got a question for you about this as I guess we're moving into week 3 of a 10-week championship. Denny Hamlin, is he the real deal? I mean, because I have read some things this week that are saying that really he might just very well be the hands-on favorite to win the championship this year.
Well, I think he's got a good shot, as good a shot as Jimmy Johnson and that. This week is not going to be a good week for him.
Right.
I mean, this is the worst track for him.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that.
So he's going to dip in the points.
Yep.
But, I mean, he's got 5 wins.
Yeah.
It's not, we're going back to tracks that we've raced before. So I think he's got a legitimate shot at it.
Now, 2 weeks ago, you indicated you thought Tony Stewart. You still holding on that one?
Of course. Tony's my driver.
All right. I for one.
Are you bailing on Jimmy?
No. I would say Jimmy Johnson. All right, our 3rd race is coming up this weekend of the chase, and that will be down at the Monster Mile at the Dover International Speedway. Coverage begins at 1 o'clock on ESPN. And you already alluded to some things that we need to be keeping in mind for fantasy, so what else you got?
Yep. Well, we got fantasy picks this week. So have you been paying attention the past couple weeks to what I've been saying?
Probably not.
About...
When do I ever pay attention to anything you say?
And we can see in your results.
Yeah.
But, so we're in the chase, and I've been saying you want to have as many chasers on your roster as possible.
Right.
Well, last week, the top 5 were all swept by chasers.
Right.
Greg Biffle was the lowest chaser, and he finished 18th.
Mm-hmm.
So you're seeing, the cream kind of rising to the top. So this week, we're going to Dover. Mile track. So we got drivers you want to watch. Matt Kenseth. Mm-hmm. He's only been outside of the top 5 once at Dover. Mm-hmm. Ryan Newman, his average finish is 11th. His previous 15th place finish is his 7th top 15 at Dover. Surprise here, someone that's not in the chase. Marcos Ambrose, 3 consecutive top 10s while being at Dover.
Yeah.
But, good value there for your fantasy buck. Jimmy Johnson, I mean, come on now, it's the chase. This guy needs to be in your roster every week until Homestead. Right. I mean, just put him up there. And then another value guy that's not in the chase.
I like this pick.
Eric Amarella runs well, great price to round out your team.
I like that pick there. All right, there you have it. And we'll be checking on his fantasy stuff and see if he's as good as he was this past weekend.
Yep.
We got a little racing going on. We had a little racing going on down in Texas this past week, and that was with NHRA. And so I thought we would just take a quick look because they were in their second race of a 6-race countdown to the championship. And what do the current standings look like at this point right now in NHRA? Well, how about this one? Antron Brown now and Spencer Massey are tied for top in the top fuel dragster category, and they moved Tony Schumacher down quite a bit into that third spot. Both of them are now 24 points ahead of Schumacher. In the funny car division, Ron Capps maintains his number one position in the funny car, and has now put a little bit of distance between himself and John Force Racing's Mike Neff. He's now 96 points ahead. Finally, in the Pro Stock division, Alan Johnson again, and he is now dominating the number one spot, 93 points ahead of Jason Line. If you recall from last week, he was only 3 points ahead of Jason Line last week at this time. So the venue changes again this coming weekend, and now we're running out of your St. Louis. So we'll bring you up-to-date standings next week after that one. All right? We got less than a week of Major League Baseball. Can you believe it? But, things are starting to come into play a little bit. Now you're starting to get a vision of what the postseason might start to look like.
Sure.
But really not too much. It's still pretty foggy in the American League. Not a single team in the American League has clinched any playoff positions at all, not even a wild card. So let's take a look at the league standings. The Yankees are still atop in the East. They're now a game and a half in front of the Orioles. But while all of a sudden the AL Central has completely changed. The Chicago White Sox for weeks and weeks and weeks had been leading that division and have now been taken over by one game from the Detroit Tigers. And really what's kind of a shame in all of this is that right now, if the season were to conclude, the White Sox don't even make the playoffs at all, not even as a wild card, after leading all those weeks in the Central. And let's see, with just about 7 games, I think Texas Rangers have about 7 games remaining in their season. They are 3 games in front of the Oakland A's. Now, just an FYI, because of course the Orioles are still in there and the Yankees are still in there. Yep. The Orioles have 6 games remaining. They will play 3 games coming up at home against the Red Sox, and then 3 on the road at Tampa Bay. The Yankees are currently involved in 4 games down at Tampa Bay, and then they come home to close out their season with 3 games against the Red Sox. So it's kind of a wash. We're going to have to wait and see how the East all falls out. It's going to get interesting. Over in the wild card race, if things were to close out right now, right today, the Baltimore Orioles and the Oakland A's would play in the 1 game. But the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim are still hanging around there in 3rd place. In the National League, that's where things are actually a little more crystal clear. Where you've got actually now, 4 of the 5 teams of the playoffs that will get into the playoffs have already been chosen and have clinched. It's just a matter of deciding, have they clinched their division, or are they going to go in as wild cards? The Washington Nationals have clinched. More than likely, they're probably going to clinch the East. But they've clinched at least a wild card, and they are still the best team in Major League Baseball. They're now 4 games in front of the Atlanta Braves. In the East, the Cincinnati Reds are the only team right now that have actually clinched their division. The Cincinnati Reds are 9.5 games in front of the Cardinals. The San Francisco Giants have also clinched. It's just a matter of where. They're now 10 games in front of the Dodgers. Over in the wild card race, no changes, and I don't expect there to be any. The Atlanta Braves, who also have clinched at least a wild card, would go up against the St. Louis Cardinals. However, the Dodgers and the Brewers, as was pointed out to us last week by our crew here, are tied for the 3rd spot in that wild card race.
And the Cardinals have 3 games left against the Nationals. And their season's going to be done.
Yeah, but see, I really believe that the Nationals at that point are probably just going to be hanging it up.
Yeah, they're probably on cruise control right now.
Exactly.
No, absolutely.
Alrighty, so that's our baseball. With the exception of 4 weeks ago, we had on our Phillies analyst and expert, we kind of consider part of the staff now, Frank Close of Philadelphia. And we had a couple of additional questions for him really mostly with regards to what we can expect from the Phils in next season. And we had a chance to catch up with him tonight via Skype live. He was down at Citizens Bank Park, and we were able to get hold of him just before game time. We want to bring you that tape right now. All righty, listen, we're thrilled to have back with us very last night of the Phil season down at Citizens Bank Park. We've got our resident Phil's expert, Frank Close. He was here with us about 4 weeks ago, and we ran out of time a little bit last time, Frank. We had some additional questions, and a lot of our questions have to do with the future. I see a number of big question marks. One of them has to be hanging on the back of Chase Utley. The other would be the third base position. Do you see any others? What are the other positions that you see really that have the big question marks on it for next season?
Well, I think you'll see something in the outfield. I don't think the Phillies even know what it's going to be yet. We really got no dominant performance from Dominic Brown that would give us a definitive answer as to where he stands.
Right.
So that's one thing to be interested. I'll be interested in seeing what happens.
Right.
They're probably going to look for a center fielder because some of the players they have are really strong center fielders. I would think that. Michael Bourne are going to be two that Ruben Amaro looks at. In the past, when somebody asked about how John Mayberry Jr. was doing, Ruben Amaro said, well, he's no Michael Bourne or B.J. Upton, both of whom happen to be free agents. B.J. Upton's a right-handed hitter, Michael Bourne's a left-handed hitter. I think Upton might fit a little bit better of the two, but that's probably the only real option they have. I'm pretty positive Chase Utley is going to play third base just because he can't play second base anymore, and this would be a way that he could create a lot of the lateral motion at second base that would help his knees and hopefully prolong his career.
Right.
So they might be looking for a second baseman.
Okay.
Somebody like Aaron Hill of the Arizona Diamondbacks, who's sitting around 300 right now.
That's a good choice. Darren Ruff, talk to me. Does he start next year? They've got him right now in where? Left field.
Well, I think left field could be a position that they sort of leave unsettled going into spring training. Nate Shearholtz, he in the mix now. He's somebody, though, they could non-tender rather than pay an arbitration number. We haven't seen much of him, but he's certainly been beaten out by other players.
Right.
Darren Ruff probably get a spring training invite.
Yep.
If he impresses, he can make the team. Otherwise, they might put him in AAA.
No doubt about it.
They could re-sign Juan Pierre if he's cheap enough. Maybe probably still be around. Probably as an extra man, but he can start if and might let it do something that's up and take the job.
Okay. Talk to me real quick about. Talk to me real quick about the starting rotation. We've got Roy Halladay, we've got Cliff Lee, and everybody's telling us that Kyle Kendrick is a lock for the starting rotation next year. Is that what it's looking like?
Well, I don't. They're paying him $4 million next year, so that might give him the edge over somebody like Tyler Cloyd and Vance Morley, both of whom haven't really showed that they're dominant starters in the major leagues.
Right.
They can certainly, if the two of them have outstanding spring trainings, maybe Kyle Kendrick is back in his customary long man role, but
sure.
They're paying him a lot of money, and it's still possible that some other team wants to take a flyer on him. I mean, I think next year's his last year of his contract. He's owed about $4 million, so it might be that might be an easy gamble for another team, and it could be a way that the Phillies can clear some salary in order to sign a B.J. Upton or somebody like that, or sign a reliever that they might need a little bit more.
Playoffs are starting next week. Who do you see coming out of the NL as the World Series representative?
That is probably one of the most difficult questions they ask. I don't really see there being a clear front runner in the National League. No matter how you look at them, the Washington Nationals have the best record, but they're also without their ace in Steven Strasburg. They still have Gio Gonzalez. Behind him, I don't think there's any dominant number two.
Right.
You wonder about the Giants with their starting rotation, even with Kane and Bumgarner, even though Lincecum hasn't been himself. Right now, I'd probably lean San Francisco, given that starting rotation.
Wow. How about out of the AL?
Out of the AL, the AL is an interesting one too, because the Yankees are kind of scuffling.
I agree.
You're going to see Baltimore and probably Oakland make it as the two wild cards.
Yep.
It seems like nobody wants to win the AL Central.
Yep.
the Tigers and the White Sox,
right.
They can't seem to get their act together, either of them. So, and I probably will lean on the Texas Rangers just because they're the ones that have been pretty steady. They lost a couple games to the Athletics, but they scratched you, Darvish, the day of the game, and I really don't think that's a big issue.
All right. Listen, Frank, I'm going to let you get to the game, and we appreciate you being here with us tonight on the very last game down there at Citizens Bank Park this year. All right?
All right, thanks. Great chatting with you.
All right, you take care now.
You too.
Alrighty, many thanks to our friend and our analyst, Frank Close of Philadelphia.com, and, hopefully, perhaps maybe we get him back even in one more time during the playoffs, huh?
Sure.
When your Cardinals get beaten or something like that, huh?
Yep.
Maybe we can get him in for that. That's what I want.
Sure.
Yeah. All right.
We can talk about what the Phillies are going to do for next year.
Yeah. Well, we already talked about that. Talk about what your Cardinals have to do to make it better. Let's go take a look at the NFL, huh? Think about this one. I mean, it's funny. We talk about the NFL season. It moves so quickly. I want you to consider for a moment, at the conclusion of Monday, this coming Monday, we will be 1/4 of the way already through the NFL season. And so, hey, with week 4 coming, that means what we have to do is we have to take a look at 4 games that we think are going to actually have a real impact this coming week. And so let's kick it off. We're going to kick it off with the San Francisco 49ers, who are 2-1. And they are visiting the New York Jets, who are similarly 2-1, and that's the 1 o'clock game on Sunday. Now, last week, the 49ers got a bit surprised, in my opinion, at home by the Minnesota Vikings, losing 24-13. One of many, many upsets last week, Sidekick.
Yep.
But when you take a look at the stats for this particular game, it's rather deceptive, in my opinion. When you look through the box score, you would think that the 49ers probably should have won. And it's difficult to point out to one thing that really didn't work, except for the fact that the 49ers, it seems, just couldn't move the ball far enough to get it into the end zone. Alex Smith really was not horrible. Going 24 of 35 for 204 yards and 1 TD. 2 fumbles and 1 Smith interception certainly didn't help the effort.
So you would say mediocre performance?
Well, I would say it was a typical. Thank you very much. I would say it was a typical Smith air game. Throwing the ball for 2.5 times the yardage that they picked up on the ground. Now, over on the other side, I don't know. I don't know if you could get really any better, you're not going to get much better statistics over there. The Jets, in my opinion, escaped out of the weekend with a 23-20 overtime win over the Miami Dolphins. Mark Sanchez had a typical, I've changed the word, mediocre, we're going to go with typical this year. Typical Sanchez day, going 21 of 45 for 306 yards, 1 TD, and 2 interceptions, and ending the day with a 58.2 QB rating. And I got to tell you, the Jets certainly look stymied against what I consider to be a rather improved Dolphins defense, going only 1 for 5 in the red zone the entire day. Penalties didn't help the Jets as well. 9 for 108 yards. Now, many Jets fans right now are somewhat concerned about the season loss of Darrelle Revis. The 49ers are a 4-point favorite in this one. And I'm just wondering, Sidekick, I mean, you think they have any chance of winning one here? I, for one, think the Jets might just pull an upset.
Ooh.
Yes, I do.
Ooh, wow.
Go ahead. Give us your thoughts.
I'm going to go with the Niners. With Revis out, they're not going to be able to, with Revis in the game, I'll give the Jets a shot. But with Revis out, they haven't showed an explosive offense. I don't think they're going to be able to score. They're not going to be able to run the ball. I mean, come on, it's the Niners, right? So I'm going with Niners on this one. And this is my bomb diggity bomb pick as well.
I don't know. As surprised as you looked, I would have thought that maybe I should have made it my bomb diggity bomb. I don't know. Alrighty. Well, there's one more that we disagree on. Let's go over and take a look at game 2, huh? We got the Seattle Seahawks 2-1 at the St. Louis Rams, who are 1-2. 1 o'clock on Sunday. And really, when it comes right down to it, so much for what? The laughable NFC West, huh? Sidekick, we got 3-0 Arizona up there. We now have 2-1 Seattle. Now, grant you, as many of you all know, the Seahawks kind of got a gift on Monday night. thanks to the replacement refs. Nonetheless, in my opinion, Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson actually looked pretty darn good, in my opinion. Throwing for a 6.2 yard average, 2 TDs, no interceptions on his way to a 99.3 QB rating. Add to that, Marshawn Lynch ran for 25 times. 25 times he ran that ball for nearly 100 yards on the ground. Meanwhile, your St. Louis Rams dropped to 1-2 in the West after losing 23-6 to the Bears in the battle of two mediocre QBs, really.
Yep.
And, yeah, I don't know. Should I even bring up Sam Bradford's numbers? Look, I'll leave it at this. His QB rating was 39.2. He had 2 interceptions and no TDs. Huh?
Yep.
Nonetheless, the Seahawks are only a 2.5-point favorite in your house. Is this one a laugher?
Well, it looks like there's going to be no Steven Jackson this week.
Right.
So we know what, Sam might get it together, but I think it may be a close game with the way the Rams defense has been playing, but I mean, come on. This is going to be Seahawks.
You're taking the Seahawks to go 3-1 and your Rams to drop 1-3.
Yep.
And I'm taking the Rams.
All right, well, we'll see how that works out.
Okay. There's 2.
We may disagree on all these.
Let's go take a look. We've been doing that recently. Let's go take a look at the New Orleans Saints. 0-3 at the Green Bay Packers, who are 1-2. That's the 4:25 game on Sunday. And this is a compelling yet surprising matchup between an 0-3 team against another who is 1-2. Now, mind you, and Sidekick might disagree with me, mind you, the Packers, in my opinion, should probably be 2-1 following the mess that was Monday Night Football this past week. But let's get this into perspective for a moment, okay? Let's put this into perspective. The Saints are an 0-3 team, but they only lost by 3 to the Chiefs last week, 27-24, in one of the numerous overtime games that took place last Sunday. And really, when it comes right down to it, they controlled the stat board. When you go and take a look at the box score, they controlled every aspect of the game. Drew Brees was 20 of 36 with 3 TDs and a 92.4 QB rating. They were 3 of 4 in the red zone. All right? The Chiefs controlled the ball by running. They ran all day long. And while Green Bay got robbed, they really, let's go take a look at Green Bay. They really didn't look very good, in my opinion.
Well, I was going to say, did they really get robbed?
Yeah, well, okay.
I mean, if you're walking around with your candy out.
Aaron Rodgers had no TDs. He was sacked 8 times. I mean, it was obvious that the team was penalized 10 times for 127 yards. I got to be honest with you. In my opinion, this is a tough one to call. All right? Both teams, I think, are going to be playing for pride. Both of them. All right? Green Bay is a 7.5-point favorite. I think the line is high. Where do you see it coming down?
Well, this is really an interesting matchup. If we were talking last season, like the beginning of last season, the first game of the season, the first Thursday night game,
right,
was Saints and Packers,
right?
And it was all the hype. This year we're talking about, and it's 0-3. One win between the two teams.
Yeah.
It's hard to fathom the Saints being 0-4.
Yeah, I agree.
But the way teams have been getting them, I think even though the Packers aren't the Packers of last year, I think the Packers are going to wind up getting them, and you're going to see an 0-4 Saints team that is just falling, just can't find the luck, any luck.
No, I agree.
And I think that's what it boils down to. They're just not having the luck. The Eagles, which we're going to talk about, you got Vic throwing all those interceptions. They've been lucky to have their record.
Right.
Whereas the Saints have been unlucky. They're 0-3.
I agree with you that I can't imagine a league with an 0-4 Saints team. This is a pride game, I think, for both teams. And that's why I'm going to pick the Saints on this one.
Wow, another disagree.
Woo! Last but not least, let's go take a look at the New York Giants, who are 2-1 at the Philadelphia Eagles, who are similarly 2-1. That's the 8:30 game on Sunday night. This is an interdivision rivalry and has been for many, many years. And no doubt about it, some would say that the Giants have certainly looked better, much better, in the early part of the season of the two teams, particularly last week. Eli Manning put up a 110.2 QB rating. while throwing 27 to 35 for 280 yards and 1 TD. In a game that everyone said he had nobody to throw to. And in a hammering of the Panthers, 36-7. Many had discounted the Giants and didn't think they could win. Compare that to the embarrassment the Eagles dealt with by losing to the now 3-0 Arizona Cardinals 26-7.
Okay, you're killing me with this.
Yeah, I hear you. And in that one, Michael Vick managed two more fumble turnovers. And while the good news is that he didn't have any interceptions, he didn't have any touchdowns either. He rushed, sacked 5 times, 13 QB hits. The offensive line was absolutely atrocious. Here we go again, Sidekick. Amazingly, the Eagles are favored by 1.5 points. Some say, some would indicate that's a Giants line. The line has moved all week long. It started out at 2.5. Now it's down to 1.5. Is this going to be a rivalry again this week or what?
Time's yours.
Time's yours. Wow. I think the Eagles' luck has run out.
Okay.
I think they're starting to face some foes that, some teams that are going to, exploit their weaknesses. Vic's turnovers. Honestly, last week, when as bad as they played in that first half, I thought Vic should have gone out.
Yep.
And, Andy's got to get desperate at some point.
Yeah.
His career's on the line. You know what I mean? So, I think the Giants are going to run right over. That line, I think the Giants are just going to run over the Eagles this week.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hold faith with my Eagles. I think that Vic comes back. We will have a good game. This is a game at home. We usually do well against the Giants at home. I'm picking the Eagles.
I goofed.
Not just yet. We'll see how I do.
One pick the same.
Okay, not one again. Yeah, you gotta love that.
But let's. We're week 3.
Yes.
7-6.
7
I
and
lead
6.
now in the picks.
You get by one. I'm 6-7. Okay.
By one,
and
but I was perfect 4-0 this week.
Trust me, if I go 4-0, I will be bringing that up first thing at the show next week. All right, listen, before we jump off of football, let's go over and take a look at our Frat House Facebook post of the week. And as usual, I took a bit of heat. Following my post about the New England Patriots game, where I contended that Coach Bill Belichick should not be sanctioned for running down the referee following the Pats' loss to the Ravens on Sunday night 31-30. And of course, well, that brought out our Facebook fans, Dave J. and Ron and Beth, all telling me, well, you never touch a ref, even if they are replacements. So.
Yep, $50,000.
Yeah, listen, good commentary there. It was my opinion. We appreciate yours. Keep those kinds of things going. All right, we're going to close it out. But before we do, you know what we got to do. We got to give a shout out to our friends over at Fan Junkies and our buddy Jonathan Regis. You got to get over there. Got to sign up for Fan Junkies.
Yep, and it's now Facebook integrated.
Yes, it is. I just saw that. That just happened yesterday. Yep. That's terrific. Fan Junkies Radio also. You got to be checking that out on Blog Talk Radio. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Boy, we had a couple of terrific. Jonathan and I went back and forth in a couple of terrific shows this week on Monday and Wednesday, and we will be back there on that again tomorrow on Friday. Don't forget our newest venture, and that's FratHouseSports.net.
Yep.
All right? And we're covering everything over there. Unfortunately, it just seems that we've been covering a lot of labor negotiations, and hopefully we're going to start covering a little bit more of sports instead of labor negotiations. Finally, let me introduce you to a really fun Facebook page that I found and was introduced to this past week, and that's the Sport Goonies. All right, now this is kind of a club page. It's a group site. You got to go in. You got to ask for permission to become part of it, and then they'll get back to you and approve whether you can be part of it or not. But I got to tell you something. This site is absolutely raucous. You got fans in every sport imaginable from all over the country, and trust me, they don't hold back. If you know what I mean. It gets pretty crazy. It's a great little site. It's a lot of fun. I got a lot of fun posting on it, and they've enjoyed our stuff, and so we appreciate them. They appreciate us. We're giving them a shout out. Get over there, become a member. They're looking to get 2,000 members. All right. All right. That's our show for this week. All right. One more thing I need you to do. I think everybody knows what it is, huh? You got to keep us real. You got to keep us live. You got to keep us going. We'll see you next week.
Moore is 6'6". They're all to the right. Tate's the lone receiver to the left. The Packers playing at the goal line. As Wilson scrambles to keep it alive. The game's final play is a Wilson lob to the end zone, which is fought for by Tate with Jennings simultaneous. Who has it? Who they give it to? Touchdown! One guy goes up, touchdown. The other said no time. Has to be looked at because it's a score. Still have an official down there in the pile looking. There's Russell Wilson.